today's video, I'm taking you behind the scenes of a shoot that I did recently with my friend Laurie, and I want to carry you guys along. So most of the time when I'm creating my content, I'm shooting the images with my Canon R5 and the 24-70 RF lens, and I know that combination is a pretty expensive combination. So what I decided to do was to shoot this set of images with my Canon R8 and also with my Sigma 50mm 1.4. I know it's a 1.4 lens, but it's relatively cheaper and more accessible than the RF version or even the EF version. But if you also have a 51.8 and nifty 50, trust me, you will still be able to create the images that we created. I'm also using the Canon R8 because it's more on the cheaper side, because if you're looking at the price of the R5 versus the R8, the R8 is just like about half the price or even less. And I also feel like that camera is more accessible, especially if you want to take photography and videography serious. Now that we have our camera and our lens figured out, the next thing is you imagining what it is that you want to capture. And for some time now, I have really been trying to stay away from shooting against white walls, especially if I'm in a studio. I find that to be a little bit boring. So what I would rather do is introduce a backdrop, and backdrops range from so many things. You can use cloth, you can use canvas material like what I'm using today, you can use papers, and the papers also come in different sizes and in different colors. And even with the canvas as well, you can get different textures, different colors, but again, that also becomes something that builds up over time. So usually I would say that start with something neutral, start with something that can give you a lot of flexibility, so that, I mean, you can sometimes manipulate the color in post to get like a few more variations until you start spending cash on a bunch of other backdrops that you may or may not use. So now that we've been able to get all of this out of the way, the next thing that we need to focus on is our lights. And to be honest, for the images that I'm capturing, even if you have flashes, you can get the same image. If you have strobes, you can get the same thing. If you have LEDs, no matter the brand, you will be able to recreate this image. And I'm actually using different brands of lights just to see if light truly matters, or if it's really going to go against me in creating the image that I'm looking for. But I think that the images did turn out great, and I can't wait to show you guys how everything came about. In my mind, I know that I needed a main light, I needed something to fill the space, and I also needed an edge light for separation. So if you follow the channel for a while, you know that this is something that I typically do. Even though the positioning of these lights will vary depending on the image that I'm trying to create, the system is pretty much the same. So there's always going to be, like I said, a main light to illuminate my subject, a fill light to reduce the shadows, and then an edge light. And then sometimes I will add in a reflector or use a V-flat so that I can either use a white side to bounce light or use a black side to absorb light and create more shape. In terms of the modifiers, I decided to go really light on the modifiers. So for example, on the edge light, all I have there is the standard cone that came with that small rig light. And then on my main light, I also decided to shoot it through a umbrella, and I'm using a shoot through umbrella. And the main reason why I'm doing that is because I wanted to create a very soft light, but I also wanted the light to have some kind of direction. So if you look at the modifier, you will see that when I turned on the LED, it was illuminating a specific part of the umbrella. It wasn't filling the entire umbrella. If I wanted it to fill the entire umbrella, it would have created an even softer light, but I just wanted some direction, some focus in my light, and so I decided to push the light in a little bit more and create a smaller beam of light inside of the umbrella. But even doing that, it still created a very soft image because umbrella or shoot-through umbrellas spread lights everywhere, and that just helps in creating a softer look. After that, I also brought the light in closer to my subject, and by bringing the light closer, it's just going to help, you know, soften the fall off and just make sure that the transitions between my highlights, midtones, and shadows are smooth and running through. After I figured out my main light, now I decided to turn on my fill light. And the fill light, I just turned it into the back of the studio, bounced it against the wall, and then made it come back and fill the entire space. The reason why I did that was because I did not want to be using modifiers, because that means that you're now going to be spending money on modifiers, you know, to shape your light. But what I'm trying to do is keep this really simple, keep this really relatable and, you know, easy to reproduce. So I have a main light which is, you know, creating some form of direction onto my subject. I'm reducing the shadows with my fill light, but my fill light is bouncing into the back wall, which is white, and then illuminating my entire scene. Then I have an edge light in the back opposite of the main light, and what that is doing is creating some separation between my subject and the backdrop. When I have all of these three lights put together, remember that I did say in the beginning that umbrellas tend to spread light everywhere, and so sometimes you may lack direction or you may lack some dimension in your images. And so what I decided to do is use a V flat, but use the black side of the V flat, and this is just going to absorb some of the light that is spilling everywhere or bouncing everywhere and create some shadows, some intentional shadows, by darkening one side of the image. And by doing this, it's going to help us create some depth and dimension in our image. So after we figured all of this out, it was just up to me and Laurie to now figure out the kind of poses that we wanted and, you know, just go ahead and capture some images. So I started off by having her just stand facing me, you know, facing the light a little bit and shooting as many images as I wanted. And then I think that the killer shot for me was when I found this stool in the studio that I decided to have her kneel on and, you know, create some other poses. I also actually played with my angles and my distance between myself and Laurie. So at a point I was going close to her, at a point I was going further away from her, still trying to keep her within the frame and just trying to get a lot of variations for my photo shoot. So another thing I also want to tell you guys is try and vary your model's poses. That's number one, obviously, so it's not too boring, but then also try and vary your angles. Try and shoot from a little higher up, a little lower, go close, go a little further back, you know, experiment. That is actually going to ensure that you have exhausted everything during your photo shoot, instead of thinking that, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I tried this, or I wish I tried that. You have all the options, and it's now up to you to pick the ones that are actually going to help tell the story that you're looking for. So in the end, we also now went back flat onto the backdrop. We rolled it, brought it down a little bit, made her kneel for some poses as well, and then we also made her lie down on the canvas a little bit, just to create again more variations, so that when I'm back on my PC I have a ton of variations to go through, and then also be able to give my clients a lot of options to choose from, so that I know that no matter what, there is going to be something that is going to work for the session that, you know, I'm being paid to capture in this case. Alright, so I think that's it for today's shoot. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below, and if you want to see more videos like this as well, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't. And also, this video is sponsored by my website. Any of you guys who go on there and purchase something to support me, you are the reason why I'm able to create these videos, and so I will encourage that you check out my website. I'm going to leave the link down below, and I'm sure there are some freebies that you can check out. But if you also want to support me and help me create more videos, then, you know, you can cop something, and then I will continue creating these free videos. So I'll catch you guys in the next one, and remember, don't ever give up.